What is going on, guys? It is week 6 of fantasy hockey, and today we're going to go over the teams with the best and worst schedules, the best streamers to maximize your games, and some new must-add players. Quickly before we talk about everything, make sure you hit that subscribe button below if you haven't. It helps support the channel. I would really appreciate it. I think like 65% of you guys that watch my videos are not subscribed, so yeah, it's simple to do. Click that subscribe button below. Starting off with the teams with the most off nights, as you guys can see on the left, Thursday and Saturday are the only nights that are considered heavy. Tuesday could be a heavy night for you depending on your league settings. Some leagues don't have utility spots, but 7 games is considered an off night. So yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, all off nights. Make sure you check your schedule and see which nights you have open roster spots on. With that being said, the best players to stream from are going to be on Vegas because they play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Those are all undoubtedly off nights, so players on this team is going to give you a lot of games and maximize your week. Other teams that are good are the Carolina Hurricanes, the Nashville Predators, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. They all have 4 games and 3 off nights, so very good for maximizing your games. The Hurricanes and the Predators have a good opponent goals against average as well, so that's something to consider as well. Then finally, we have teams with 3 games and 3 off nights, which is very good for maximizing your games as well. Those teams being the Washington Capitals, the Calgary Flames, and the Colorado Avalanche. Lastly, we do have some teams that have 4 games and 2 off nights. Certainly not as good as having 3 off nights, but these teams are the St. Louis Blues, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Seattle Kraken. Moving on, we have the teams with the least amount of games. We have 5 teams this week that only play twice, which is not ideal. And we have 3 teams that have 2 games and 0 off nights. These teams being the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Minnesota Wild. The Lightning have a pretty tough opponent goals against average because they play the Jets and the Devils. But in terms of the rest of the teams on this list, we also have 2 teams that play 2 games with 2 off nights. So not the best for holding on to them the entire week, but they could be viable options in terms of picking them up on Wednesday and dropping them Saturday. These 2 teams are the Utah Hockey Club and the Anaheim Ducks. Moving on, we have the teams with the easiest opponent goals against average. These teams play teams that let in a lot of goals, so the players on these teams may perform better than they usually do. The best teams are undoubtedly the Sabres and the Jackets. You could see those top players overperform this week. And then the Hurricanes, the Wild, the Flyers, the Predators, the Red Wings, the Sharks, the Blackhawks, the Islanders, the Stars, and the Kings all have an above 3.00 opponent goals against average, which is very solid. And then we also have the Penguins and the Bruins here as well with the 2.98 opponent goals against average. On the flip side, we have the teams with the hardest opponent goals against average. The Lightning, like I said, very tough this week, but they are a very good offensive team, so it might not matter. But for the rest of these teams, we have the Panthers, the Oilers, the Senators, the Jets, the Utah Hockey Club, the Avalanche, the Rangers, and the Kraken, all having below a 2.80 opponent goals against average. And then the rest of the teams here, middle of the pack sort of, Canucks, Vegas, Blues, Leafs, and the Devils. Now we're going to be talking about some of the streamers this week to maximize your games. Like I said, Vegas has a very good schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And there's definitely some good options for this week. So starting things off, Pavel Dorofeyev, he is in the top 6. He's on the first power play unit. He's on the first power play unit until Victor Olofsson comes back. He may even hold on to that spot when Olofsson returns. So very good stream for this week and potentially a long-term hold as well. Another player is Tomas Hertl, power play 1, line 2. Very good option, solid peripherals. And then a sneaky low roster percentage guy is Nicholas Roy. He has been moved up to the first line and to the first power play unit because Mark Stone is out with an injury. It's only deemed day-to-day, so he may return on Monday. I don't have the details on that just yet. But if Stone is still out, then Roy is going to be an absolutely amazing stream for this week. Then finally, Ivan Barbashev. He's not on the first power play unit, but he's on line 1. He puts up amazing peripherals. Not so much shots, but his hits are very good if your league counts those. And then we have some other options here. Defensemen, if you're in a more shallow league, Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo. McNabb is good. He's a low roster percentage guy. He puts up really good peripherals. And then some deeper league options, William Karlsson, Keegan Colasar, Holtz, Howden, etc. Obviously, Vegas is the best option for streaming, but like I said, we have teams that have 4 games and 3 off nights as well. So the teams, Carolina Hurricanes, Nashville Predators, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Obviously, the guys that could be available in a more shallow league, like a 6-team or an 8-team league, those guys being Martin Necas, Seth Jarvis, and Shane Gostisbehere, all on the first power play unit. And then some other options, which aren't the greatest guys unless you're in a deeper league, but Brent Burns, Dmitry Orlov, Jack Roslovich, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Robinson, Jackson Blake, etc. Then with the Predators, obviously Stamkos, Marchessault, high roster percentage guys, but in a more shallow league, they could be available. And then Ryan O'Reilly, those three guys being on the first power play unit. And then some deeper league options, Brady Shea, Gustav Nyquist, Jeremy Lauzon. Really depends on your league settings, guys. Nyquist doesn't put up good peripherals. Lauzon does. So make sure you understand that. And then finally, with the Penguins, definitely some underrated options here. Evgeny Malkin, Brian Rust. Rust has returned. He has a pretty low roster percentage, being a guy that puts up good peripherals, line one, power play one. Definitely underrated in my opinion. I know he can't stay healthy, but still. Rickard Rakell. Rakell was actually power play one, even with Rust back. I don't know how long that's going to last because when everyone was healthy, Rakell was on the second unit. So we'll see what happens, but certainly a very good option with that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday schedule, picking those players up on Monday and dropping them Saturday. With the rest, obviously, Erik Karlsson, unlikely to be available in most leagues, but definitely a good option. Chris Letang, bumped down to the second unit, but still solid. O'Connor, Noah Chari, Peterson, Eller, Bunting, etc. Those are some deeper league guys that could be okay streaming options. Moving on, let's talk about 3 games and 3 off-night streamers. Definitely some good options here. Connor McMichael, who was on an absolute tear. He is not slowing down, apparently. I do think the production is a little bit unsustainable, but still, he's getting really good deployment on the top power play unit now, in the top 6. As long as he's getting this deployment, he's going to be very solid for the rest of the year. Obviously, he's unlikely to be available, but if he is, definitely take a look at streaming him this week because of the schedule. And then the rest of these guys, Tom Wilson, very good deployment, very good peripherals. Dylan Strome, this guy's been on an absolute tear as well. Definitely a sell high candidate for sure, but very good deployment. Yeah, this Capitals team is looking really good. But yeah, in terms of the rest guys, Protas, who's in line one with Ovechkin, Jacob Chikrin, who is back and healthy. And then some deeper league guys, depends on your league settings. Pierre-Luc Dubois bumped down to the second unit, but still an okay option. Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Nick Dowd, Rasmus Sandin, Andrew Mangiapane, etc. Then with the Flames, always good options on the Flames because they are typically low roster percentage guys. Nazem Kadri is definitely my favorite. I think he's starting to bounce back a bit, still getting elite deployment, good peripherals. Igor Sharangovich, line one, power play one. Blake Coleman, Jonathan Huberdeau, Mikael Backlund, Rasmus Anderson. Matt Coronado, who has been moved up to the top power play unit, could be a sneaky option in a deeper league for this week because he is pretty low roster percentage. Connor Zary, Andrei Kuzmenko, those two guys moved down to the second unit, so not the greatest, but still. And then Martin Pospisil. Terrible ice time, but very good hit production if your league counts that. And finally, with the Colorado Avalanche, we have Arturi Lehkonen and Middlestat, guys that are on the first power play unit that could be available. We'll see how that shakes up because Drouin is returning soon. Nichushkin could be returning soon as well. I believe he's eligible to return on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that, guys. If he is available, absolutely pick him up. And then guys like Devin Taves, Josh Manson, etc. Moving on, let's talk about some new power play updates. Charlie Coyle was moved to the first power play unit 2 games ago, but last game they put Zaka back on that top unit. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but Zaka is back on that first power play unit. With the Flames, like I mentioned, Coronado is on the top unit right now. Definitely putting up some decent production. Zary and Kuzmenko are on the second unit. I don't know how long this is going to last. I'd imagine Kuzmenko would get back up there, but for now, Coronado is worth a speculative add in a deeper league. Then with the Blackhawks, we've seen them mix up this power play unit quite a bit, but right now they have Ryan Donato, Lucas Reichel, and Tyler Bertuzzi on the first unit, and they have moved Teuvo Teravainen to the second unit, which makes no sense, guys. I don't understand this. Don't expect it to last, but Lucas Reichel, Ryan Donato, and Tyler Bertuzzi have seen a little bit of bump to their fantasy value with this deployment change. Then with the Avalanche, like I just mentioned, Lehkonen and Middlestat are power play one. I'm unsure what they're going to do with Drouin and Nichushkin back. I'd imagine Nichushkin would be the net front player, so Lehkonen would get bumped down to the second unit. And then we'll see what happens with Middlestat and Drouin, guys. They're the bumper players, I believe. Middlestat's been playing really well, and I could see him fitting well in that role long term. So Middlestat could be power play one for the entire year. Then with the Stars, I don't really know what they're doing with their power play. If you're looking at power play time per game, it's always all over the place. So I think they're mixing up their units quite a bit. Very frustrating if you own those top guys, Hintz, Robertson, and Johnston. But I'll keep you guys updated as things change. And then with the Red Wings, Seider is on the power play 1, even with Erik Gustafsson not being scratched, which is certainly a promising sign for Seider owners. So yeah, definitely loving what I'm seeing for Seider owners. And Erik Gustafsson is pretty much useless in fantasy at the moment. So we'll see what happens there. Then with the Oilers, they are back to their normal power play 1. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Bouchard, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. With the Florida Panthers, Juvis Balinskis is running the power play 1. Adam Boqvist has been scratched in multiple games now, and Balinskis is playing pretty good. So certainly worth an add if you need a defenseman. Not sure how long this is going to last, but you know, he's been on there quite a bit for the season. He's getting more ice time as well. So yeah, definitely a fan. Then with the Islanders power play, it's all over the place. Obviously, you have Barzal out with an injury. Duclair's out with an injury. Their defenseman on the second unit, Mike Riley, is missing an indefinite amount of time. I believe they have Anders Lee, John Gabriel Pajot, and Wallstrom on the top units. But if you're looking at power play time per game from last game, it was all mixed up. So not entirely sure what they're going to do, and I'm sure they're going to mix it up quite a bit. Then with the Penguins, Brian Rust is healthy. He's back. He's on the power play 1. And we saw last game that even with Rust back, they have kept Raquel on the top units. So that is something to watch out for. When Rust was injured, they had Matt Grzelcyk on the first power play unit over Letang, with Raquel on the first power play unit as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. Letang was on the power play 1 previously when everyone was healthy with Erik Karlsson. And yeah, we will see what they do with Russ back long term. Then with the San Jose Sharks, Celebrini is back. Obviously, he's on the top unit. They currently have Wenberg on the top unit as well. They've moved Eklund down to the second unit. Don't think this is going to last. It may just be punishment for Eklund's poor play because they also move Eklund down to the fourth line. So yeah, that's something to watch out for. And then the biggest thing to watch out for is the defenseman on this top unit. Jack Thompson was power play 1 last game, but sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's not even playing. Liljegren was power play 1 a few games ago. They just acquired him, so that is someone in the mix now. And then obviously Jake Wallman has the opportunity to get back on this top unit at some point as well. So yeah, for now, it's sort of up in the air. We don't know who is going to secure the power play 1 long term amongst defensemen. But whoever does is going to see a value bump in fantasy. Then with the Blues, Broberg is out week to week. And obviously Robert Thomas is still injured. So Braden Shen and Colton Parayko are on the top unit. Those guys see bumps. You have Chaffee on the power play 1 with Braden Point out day to day on the Tampa Bay Lightning. So if Point is out for maybe another week or so, Chaffee will be a good add in a deeper league. Then with the Leafs, Matthews is injured, so we don't really know what's going to happen long term. Previously, they were running a 1A, 1B power play unit. But right now, with Matthews out, they have Riley on the power play 1, Ekman Larson bumped down to the second unit, and they have Nyes on the top power play unit as well. So we will see what happens when Matthews returns. Then with the Utah Hockey Club, we saw last night that Kerfoot was bumped up to the first unit, and Barrett Hayden was dropped down to the second unit. Hayden's ice time has not been good in the last 2 games. This may be a punishment for his poor play, or maybe they're just trying to mix things up, but Kerfoot could be a good speculative add in a deeper league. Then finally, 3 more teams here. Connor Garland is still power play 1, getting elite ice time. With Vegas, I mentioned this earlier, Nicholas Roy is power play 1 with Stone injured. This is day to day, so we don't know what's going to happen, but Nicholas Roy is definitely worth an add if Stone continues to be out. Then finally, with the Washington Capitals, Dylan Strome and McMichael are power play 1. Pierre-Luc Dubois moved down to power play 2. So yeah, very good for Strome and McMichael, and not so good for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Moving on, let's talk about some must-add players. I already talked about most of these guys in my last video, but I continue to have them as must-add players because their roster percentage is far too low. First is Valery Nichushkin. He may be returning this week, guys. I believe Thursday is the day that he would be returning. And yeah, I mean, this guy needs to be added. He's an absolute monster when he's healthy, likely to be in the top 6, maybe on the top line, and also on the first power play unit, one of the best power plays in the NHL. So pick this guy up before it's too late. Then with JJ Peterka, line 1, power play 1, I just think his roster percentage is too low. I think he's going to be great all season long. Macklin Celebrini, he is healthy. He was dropped in a lot of leagues. He's line 1, power play 1, only a pure C in a lot of formats, but definitely worth a look. Then we have Brian Rust. This is an underrated option, guys. I understand he has struggled to stay healthy, but he has been very good in fantasy in the last like 4 or 5 years, guys. There's no question about it. Line 1, power play 1, takes a lot of shots, puts up hits if your league counts those. And yeah, I believe his roster percentage is under 50%. So definitely underrated. Then we have Gabriel Velarde. I still think his roster percentage is too low. I've been telling you guys that he's underrated. He's finally started to produce. Doubt he's available anymore, but if he is, I would suggest you take a look. Then we have Alex Ferrier. Unlikely to be available anymore at this point. I think I've included him on every single must-add list at this point. But he's still power play 1. His peripherals are great. And he's producing at an elite level. So even though this production is absolutely going to cool down and he is a sell-high player, he's still worth an ad if he's available. Then we have Arturi Lehkonen. He may get bumped down to the second unit when Nichushkin comes back, but for now, he's line 1, power play 1, so definitely underrated. Then we have Pavel Dorofeyev, still power play 1, getting good ice time, playing very good. Connor McMichael, playing very well. Power play 1 over Pierre-Luc Dubois in the top 6. Could be good for the entire season. Rickard Rakell, still power play 1 in the one game that we have seen with Brian Rust back, so we'll see how that shakes up long term. Stefan Nason, still power play 1 over Timo Meier. I don't expect this to change, guys. His power play has been clicking. Nason has been playing really well. I think Nason had 7 shots and 6 hits in the last game, so he has those peripherals too. Very impressed. Kirill Marchenko, line 1, power play 1, very good ice time. Connor Garland in the top 6 on the power play 1, very good ice time as well. Then with Dylan Cousins, he's in the top 6. He's still in the power play 1. He's putting up very good shots, hits, and blocks. The goals are going to come very soon, guys, as long as he's getting this power play 1 deployment. And then moving on, guys, the next list, Matthew Knies on the power play 1 with Matthews out. Don't know what they're going to do long term when Matthews returns. But still, for now, Knies is a very good option. Then we have Josh Norris. I just think he's underrated. His ice time is very good. His peripherals are solid. Not the best shot volume, but he'll be good for the entire season as long as he's in the top 6 and on the power play 1. Then we have 3 Islanders players here that have seen deployment bumps with injuries. Those injuries being Matt Barzal and Anthony Duclair. And basically, you have John Gabriel Peugeot, who's line 1, power play 1 with really good peripherals. Anders Lee, very similar. Line 1, power play 1, good peripherals. And then Kyle Palmieri as well has seen a bump in ice time with these injuries. Then we have Ryan Donato of the Blackhawks, line 1, power play 1, solid peripherals. Don't think this is going to last long term, but definitely worth a look in a deeper league. Then we have Jason Zucker, not in the top 6. He's on line 3, but he's still power play 1 over Alex Tuch. This has been this way for a while now, so yeah, certainly worth an option considering his low roster percentage. Then we have Braden Shen, who's power play 1 with Philip Broberg out. Next, we have Nicholas Roy, who's power play 1 with Mark Stone out day to day. We don't have any details on Mark Stone's injury other than that it's lower body. And knowing Mark Stone, it could be more than day-to-day. So Roy is certainly worth a look. Then we have Tyler Bertuzzi and Lucas Reichel. I talked about this earlier. They're on the power play 1 right now. In the top 6 as well. Reichel moving up to the line 1. Mitchell Chaffee, power play 1 with Braden Point out day-to-day. I think Point's going to return very soon. So probably not worth an ad unless you're in a super deep league. But yeah, if Point is out for another week or so, he could be a good short-term stream. Then we have Alexander Wenberg, who is power play 1 over William Eklund. Don't expect this to last, but could be worth a look in a very deep league. Then Alex Kerfoot. Last game, he was power play 1 over Barry Hayden. We'll see how this develops, but worth an ad in a deeper league, depending on your league size. And then finally, we have Matt Coronado, who is currently power play 1 over Andrei Kuzmenko. I don't know if this is going to last either, but as long as he's getting this deployment, he's worth an ad in a deeper league. Okay, moving on, let's talk about some defensemen. Brant Clark, I still have to put him on this list because I think his roster percentage should be something like 90%. It's only around 70%. So yeah, I mean, take a look if you need a defenseman. Colton Parayko, he's now power play 1 with Philip Broberg out. Very good peripherals, certainly worth a look. Juvis Balinskis, like I mentioned earlier, he is power play 1. He's getting more ice time. As long as he's power play 1 on one of the best power play teams in the NHL, he will have value. Then we have Olin Zellweger, still leading the Ducks in power play time per game. He's getting a lot of ice time. His production's okay. You know, I don't think he's going to be some sort of monster fantasy player, but considering his roster percentage, I would say he's currently underrated. Then we have some Sharks guys. Timothy Liljegren could end up on the power play 1 at some point. He was on there a couple of games ago. He has competition with Jack Thompson and Jake Wallman, but he's definitely worth a look. Speaking of Jake Wallman, we still have him on here. Obviously, he was bumped down to the second unit, and he was also scratched last game, but he is still getting really good ice time. He's still putting up good peripherals, and he has that potential to get back on the top unit at some point. So still worth an add. Next, we have Bowen Byram. He's not power play 1, which will cap his ceiling, but he's playing well, he's producing, and he's getting more ice time as of late. So definitely a fan in a deeper league. Then for some deeper league adds, Alex Vlasic. He's power play 2 right now, but he has seen some reps on power play 1 over Jones. I don't think that is going to be something that happens long term, but regardless, he's getting really good ice time and he's putting up solid peripherals. So worth a look in a deeper league. Then we have Damon Severson, good ice time, good peripherals. Jack Thompson of the San Jose Sharks, power play 1 last game. Don't know if this is going to last. Like I mentioned, he has competition in Liljegren and Wallman. Thompson may get scratched some games, but for now, if he's PP1, he does have value. Then finally, we have Kevin Ball. Not a power play 1 guy, but he puts up good peripherals. He gets really good ice time. Certainly impressed with the ice time that he's getting so far. So certainly worth a look. And then finally, Matt Grzelcyk of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was taken off the first power play unit when Russ returned. They had Russ and Raquel on there, but who knows what will happen long term. You could see him get back on this top unit at some point, and that means he's worth a speculative add in a deeper league. Then finally, we have goalie adds. Many of these goalies are unlikely to be available unless you're in a more shallow league, but I still got to talk about them. And these goalies are Philip Gustafsson, who is playing great, getting a lot of volume. Anthony Stolarz, who is playing incredible. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who is getting more volume, more wins. The Sabres are looking better. Kevin Lankinen, I know he got shelled last night, but he's still been playing really good and getting a lot of volume. And we don't have any timeline with Demko's return. So Lankinen is an absolute must-add goalie. And we have Alexander Georgiev. I understand he is very shaky, but he's got 2 starts in a row. He played really good in that 1 game 2 games ago, and the coaches seem to keep going back to him. So he's definitely worth an add considering the team that he plays on. And then we have Darcy Kemper. The Kings are playing better. He's playing good. Kochetkov. Anderson is still out week to week, and Kochetkov has played well, so absolutely a must-add. Joey Daccord. Grubauer is injured day to day. Daccord is just a better goalie, so yeah, I like him as an add. Aiden Hill. Samsonov's injured. Hill's played a little bit better. He's getting more volume. He's on the Vegas Golden Knights, so I definitely like adding Hill if you need a goalie. Samuel Ersson. He's healthy now. He's a volume guy. Lots of shots against. The Flyers are obviously not the best team in the NHL. They're near the bottom of the standings, but still, if you need a volume guy, Ersson is good. And then we have Mrazek. Similar to Ersson, he's a volume guy. Elvis on the Blue Jackets. It seems like he's getting the bulk of the starts as of late. He's a volume guy. And then 2 more goalies on here. Cam Talbot. Lions injured day to day. We'll see how that progresses. Talbot's getting more starts because of this. And then Tristan Jarry. Jarry obviously had a terrible start to the year, but he had a good showing in the AHL. He's been called up, and if he plays well, he could become the #1 starter again. So if you're desperate for a goalie, Jarry could be worth an add. All right, guys, that is the end of the video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.